Bruins general manager Don Sweeney confirming to the media on Wednesday that his contract does expire at the end of this postseason and that an extension has not yet been reached with the Bees. Sweeney did, however, indicate that a resolution should be reached soon. During today's session with the media, Sweeney gave his thoughts on where this team currently stands going into the offseason.
As it stands right now, we have a competitive, really competitive group. We've been competitive. We want to remain competitive and play the right way. And that's what we're going to try and do. You know, we think we've got building blocks both in goal and in the back end where maybe that was out of sorts for a little while. I mean, you lose a player like Zdeno, that's going to happen. There's a hole there. So it might take some time. Like you referenced in terms of filling the center, it might take some time to draft that player, to develop that player, to put him in that situation. And that's all part of what we're trying to accomplish, you know, as an organization. And we stand here today acknowledging we fell short. And that's on me, you know, to try and pull the right strings and hopefully make the right decisions.
All right, that is where we begin today's Daily Thread. We got Tom Giles in studio, 98.5 The Sports Hub's Ty Anderson, who covers the Bruins, is with us as well. I mean, it seems, Ty, correct me if I'm wrong, like Don Sweeney is going to return. And if that's what happens, is that the right move by the Bruins? Should they keep him around?
Yeah, for the record, I'm still not sure what happens. It would indicate that he's back. Today, he was oddly human. He's usually not like that. He's usually very robotic, very straight to the point. Today, there was a human element there. I don't know if that's to soften us up, perhaps, or if he thinks maybe this is it for him. But if he is back, I mean, this is sort of his path. This is his mess to a certain degree in terms of the bottom of the roster and replacing guys who were key components. And I don't think that's going to be fixed if you replace him with a new guy. I mean, you bring in a new guy, you still have the same amount of cap space. You still have the same prospects that you can't get a lot for in the trade market, and you don't have a first round pick. So what really changes if you change right now? I think it's almost too late in the game, and you got to give him a chance here to work out of this and see what happens.
I think it's weird, though, in this situation, because I feel like a lot of Bruins fans, a lot of Bruins followers really want Bruce Cassidy back. So they're afraid that if Don Sweeney's gone, then that means the new GM is going to come in and replace the head coach. And because of that, I think a lot of people are like, okay, they're indifferent a little bit on Don Sweeney. The one thing, though, is he's mentioning it right there. They didn't have a plan to replace Zdeno Chara. They don't have a plan to replace Patrice Bergeron. Not that you can really plan for that because he's such an exceptional player. He just hasn't drafted well. Like, if they could somehow just retool the scouting department, yes, it sounds like the Patriots. But it's been the drafting that's killed him because the contracts that he signed and a lot of the trades that he's made have worked out.
And it's funny because people automatically, trust Bill Belichick, right? Because he's won so many titles. Do you trust Don Sweeney, who hasn't drafted well and hasn't, put guys in place to replace the players he has lost, to rebuild this team and make it a cup contender? It's one thing to be competitive in the postseason. It's another to be a cup contender. Yeah, and you're both bang on here because this is the problem. It's the drafting in the beginning was not good. It's gotten better. So that's sort of a problem now is if you throw that out the window and get rid of the staff, get rid of everything, okay, now you're starting from an even worse spot than you already are in right now. So I think that's an issue for this team. I think that people don't want to get rid of Bruce Cassidy. I wouldn't want to either. I think he's a good coach. I just think there needs to be more synergy in terms of the roster pieces you are getting for him to build a team that's what he wants to do, I think, as a head coach. All right. Well, he did talk about Patrice Bergeron today. Don Sweeney did, and how difficult it's going to be to replace him.
We are going to give Patrice as much time as he necessarily needs. There's not a, you can look at plan B and C and such, but let's be honest, you don't replace that type of player and what he means to our organization. That might take years to replace that player.
Listen, he's not Tom Brady, but it's as close probably in Boston hockey as it gets to a leader and a player on the ice. You can't replace him, but do they have anybody that can take a spot on the roster? Somebody that can fill in admirably? No. I mean, maybe a couple of years ago you looked at it and thought that Charlie Coyle could step up on the top line, but I don't think anyone's comfortable with that. Right? Don Sweeney's getting questions about David Krejci today, okay? Yes. Seems like that's the backup plan. The guy who retired decided he didn't want to play hockey a year ago. So they have absolutely no plan right now with top-line center time. No, they have none. I mean, and Charlie Coyle would be your default number one center, but keep in mind, he couldn't hack it at number two center this year for the Bruins. So now he's going to go up two instead of one. So that's a problem for them. You look at the free agent market, not a lot of guys that you want to give a big bag of money to.
Like Claude Giroux, for example, he already said no to you once. The Bruins made a competitive offer to the Flyers for Claude Giroux, and he said, no, I don't want to go to Boston. Why is that going to change if Bergeron is gone, right? That's an even worse situation for them. So, no, they need him back. And this is sort of the big problem, is that they've never prepared properly to lose all the pieces that they've lost over the last few years, whether it's Bergeron, Krejci, Chara, even Kevin Miller. I would say they didn't have necessarily a great backup plan to replace his retirement. So that has been the big problem for Don Sweeney and the Bruins. And it's not going to get any better now, even if Bergeron does come back.
Ty, what do they do with David Pastrnak?
You keep him. I think it's going to be like McAvoy, where he signs a big money extension as soon as he can. I don't think they want to lose him. He's a foundational piece. He's part of their next wave of leadership. He likes it here. He's given no indication, and I've heard none, either internally or externally, that he wants to leave. So he's going to be here for the long haul. It's going to be a big money contract, though. You're probably talking about $9 million a season, I would imagine, for a guy with that kind of scoring capability. So it's only going to make the whole operation tighter here as they move forward.
Yeah, I just look at David Pastrnak and a couple things. I need more out of him in the postseason.
I understand. I'd like to see him score in the postseason. He's been hurt the last few
postseasons, but you either got to play through it or just find a way to be healthy for it. Need more from you in the postseason. And the other thing is, I do wonder what he looks like without Patrice Bergeron, if that is indeed the case. To your point, though, overall, if you can't find secondary scoring, why are you going to give up your best goal scorer? That just doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
All right.
And the other part of it, too, is that he's such a natural gifted goal scorer. They don't have another guy like this in their pipeline, on their roster, anywhere. You got to keep a guy like that. You can't let him leave for nothing.